Picture yourself walking down a road. You come to a fork. If it's raining, you take the paved path to the left. If it's sunny, you take the dirt trail to the right. That simple act of making a choice based on current conditions is conditional branching. This diagram shows how programmers map out those choices. The diamond represents a condition or decision box, with paths flowing out based on whether the answer is true or false. Without these decision points, a program is just a rigid calculator. It executes the exact same lines of code, in the exact same order, every single time it runs. Decision control statements fix this. They allow your code to read a situation, evaluate the data, and react dynamically to user input. Let's look at the syntax for a basic if statement, checking if a number is greater than 10. You place the condition you want to evaluate inside the parentheses, and the code you want to run inside the curly braces. The compiler reads this as a strict binary. If the condition is true, the program steps inside the curly braces and executes the code. If it's false, the program skips the block entirely and moves on. Watch out for the semicolon trap. If you place a semicolon immediately after the condition's parentheses, it creates an invisible empty line of code. It stops the condition right there, meaning the code block below it will execute no matter what. Think of the simple if statement as a locked one-way gate. It only opens when the specific condition you set evaluates to true. This flowchart shows what happens when we need a dedicated backup plan. The else construct provides a specific secondary path for the compiler to take when the primary condition evaluates to false. Here is how that looks in code using an even or odd checker. We use the modulo operator to see if a number's remainder is 0. If it is, the number is even. To handle odd numbers, we attach an else block immediately after the closing brace. Notice the two equal signs in the condition. A single equal sign assigns a value to a variable. A double equal sign asks a question. Are these two values exactly equal? By linking these statements, the if-else construct guarantees that exactly one and only one of your two code blocks will execute. Now, how would you handle 3 possible states? For example, determining if a number is positive, negative, or exactly 0. This diagram outlines the solution, the else-if ladder. It sequences multiple conditions one after another. The compiler evaluates this ladder from top to bottom. The moment it finds a true condition, it executes that block and short-circuits to the end. The else-if ladder acts as a tool for mutual exclusion. You use it to prioritize a list of conditions, ensuring only the very first true statement wins. This diagram shows a different approach. When you need to match exact values, like reading a specific menu selection, long else-if ladders become inefficient. The switch statement handles this cleanly. You feed a single variable into the switch. The program skips the evaluation chain and jumps directly to the case that matches the input, executing the specific code for option 1, 2, or 3. But you must tell the program when to stop. If you omit the break keyword at the end of case 1, the execution flow falls completely through the floor and incorrectly runs case 2 as well. The switch statement is a targeted jump mechanism. It gets you to the right place instantly, but it absolutely requires manual exit signs to function safely. Let's review the 4 structures. Use if for a standalone check, if-else for a backup plan, else-if to prioritize conditions, and switch to match exact values. Remember, double equals compares values, single equals assigns them, and always include break in switch cases. Now it's time to practice. Try writing 3 simple programs on your own: a voting checker for age eligibility, a traffic light switch simulation, and a vowel checker. Mastering these syntax rules bridges the gap between writing predictable scripts and engineering intelligent software.